What's the worst case of spoiled rotten that you've seen? My roommate is an application essay reader for a university's business school. He was just telling me about a kid who wrote his overcoming hardship essay about how he really wanted a boat because all of his friends had boats, and it was hard for him to be left out. Then he overcame his hardship when his parents bought a boat. Guess it wasn't a hardship to get. Was at the Ford dealership getting my oil changed and killing time by walking through the big showroom. There is a Mustang GT 350 sitting in the middle with a huge bow on it and folks gathered around waiting for someone. Minutes later the family comes in with their son who immediately yells about wanting it in blue instead of black and denting the passenger door with a swift kick. This one bothers me the most so far. That little bastard would find himself in boarding school. I'll bet the salesman's jaws were on the floor. The parents did not even have money. He wanted new clothes, was told no, so he put his clothes in bathtub and poured bleach on them. Parents bought him new clothes. Shit, that would have been a bleachy clothes wearing dude if that was my son. In high school, 1987, this really pretty girl was about to turn 16 and her parents got her a fully frame-up restored 65 Mustang. Wasn't what she wanted, so they got her a new Porsche 944, not the only one at my school. It was customized with rims and upholstery that had her name embroidered on it. When she graduated they got her a new Lexus sedan. Her father was a preacher at a small rural church. Her mom was a stay-at-home trophy wife. Still have no idea how they pulled that off. I worked at a tax office and can tell you that religion is a profitable business. Sister refuses to look for a job and as a result moves back home. She uses my parents' vehicle to drive around with her boyfriend and go to parties and crap. One day there's a family emergency and the car is not in the driveway for her to use. She throws a tantrum, trashes the house, and runs away with her boyfriend. BTW, my sister is 22 years old. Sounds like the problem solved itself. Okay, I've got one. My boyfriend's little half-sister, so her parents are real hippies, live at least 40 minutes from the nearest town which doesn't have much anyway. They live on an eco-friendly farmlet which her parents built from scratch. Since the age of say 10, she's now 16. My boyfriend's sister has been a stealer of money. Started off by taking coins when she was babysitting for neighbors, eventually finding out where stashes of cash were kept, and then the neighbors found out and told her parents. They were mortified but didn't do much apart from tell her off and make her promise she wouldn't do it again. Little things like that happened and same outcome. Then her granddad passed away who left a share of $1 bill to her mother which was used to upgrade the farm, buy more land, etc. She stole money from her dead granddad's wallet in his freaking pocket when he was lying in the house dead when no one was looking. All she got was a bit of a tell-off. She never has to give the money back because she spends it first. Her parents just say work it off by doing chores. Now she's 16 and her latest crimes have been stealing her mum's card to buy $800 of makeup online. Her parents took the makeup from her hoping to return it, but not before she replaced the makeup in the boxes with old bottles. They let her keep the makeup, still let her do all her school camps, parties, etc. The last I heard, her parents started a B&B, made a couple of grand only to have it disappear because she found out their internet banking passwords, transferred it to herself, then spent it on food, friends, makeup all in a weekend before they could find out. Her punishment? Working it off by doing chores. It makes me sick. I had to do chores for free. I'm still doing chores for free in my own house. Freaking heck. My mouth hung open once I got the part where she stole money from a dead relative. What a piece of crap. A girl in my high school had totaled 4 cars by the time she graduated on account of crashing 2, flipping one onto someone's lawn and accidentally running someone else's car completely over. I know that there are some seriously bad drivers out there, but 4 total cars sounds like it's a cry for help. I was in a Toys R Us in the 90s. This mother and daughter who had to be around 12 were shopping. The girl asks if she can have some toy. The mother said no, we are here to get a gift for. The girl asked once or twice more and the mom declined. The girl then said frick you mommy and took off running. The mother chased her while the kid cursed her out. Eventually, it must have ended. I went to check out and the mother-daughter are behind me. The mother not only got the toy she wanted but actually apologized. That was my cousin Zach, but when we left Toys R Us his dad made him give the toy to Salvation Army. He cried and cried. I got yelled at for laughing. I'm a rebel, a loner. I'm breaking the rules. I know a multimillionaire chick, maybe 95 million in net worth. She's a friend of my ex-wife. We hang out with her on a semi-regular basis. At any rate, one day years ago, my kid is playing some Game Boy DS shareable game with her sons. It's a game that my kid has. Her boys don't. They finally finish the game while the grown-ups are getting lit and eating way too much crab. One of her boys runs up to his mom and asks, "Can we get this game? It's really fun." She says, "Oh, money's tight. Tell you what, put it on your Christmas list. That's only a couple of months away." Okay. And, with that, all the kids went downstairs to play whatever on the whatever. I looked at her and said, "Money's tight?" She related the tale of how the kids have no idea that they have money. It was the way she was raised. She didn't discover the money until she graduated university. At first, she was peed because her college could have been so much easier with money, but a few months after graduation, she started thinking back on how peed off she had been at the wealthy kids who just bought their way out of every problem that came their way and how disgusted she had been at the way they lived their lives. She apologized to her dad and swore that she would raise her kids exactly the same way. She lives in a modest little house. Her boys wear sneakers until they destroy them. They will find out when they graduate college. This will probably get lost, but this is one of my favorite spoiled kid come-up-and stories ever. Had a friend Don who had 2 kids, a year apart in age. When his son turned 16, Don was ready to give him his pristine Volkswagen. Don really babied his cars, so this Jetta, though about 7 years old, was truly in like new condition. A car that most normal 16-year-olds would be thrilled to have. I would have been thrilled to have it myself. So Don tells his son the plan and his son goes, "Dad, I'm not driving that car. It's a 7-year-old Jetta. I need a new pickup truck." After taking a deep breath so he didn't throttle his son, Don simply said, "Well, then, I'll drive the Jetta for 1 more year and then give it to your sister when she's 16. If you want a new pickup truck, then you'll either have to ask your mother or buy one yourself." Now Don and his kid's mother had been divorced for years, and, through a series of bad choices, his ex-wife had barely 2 dimes to rub together. Don had gotten remarried to a woman who was a very successful and wealthy business owner. So his son, very mistakenly, thought that Don and his current wife would foot the bill for whatever the son wanted. How very wrong he was. Fast forward a year, his daughter is very happily driving the Jetta. Don bought himself a brand new Mazda. His son has access to neither of them. In desperation, his son bought himself a crappy $800 Beta just to get himself to and from work. Lesson learned, I hope. I applaud Don for sticking to his guns and teaching his kid not to be an entitled butthole at an early age. Good to see a story with some karma. When I turned 16, all I wanted for my birthday was to see the Blue Man Group perform. I saved my own money to pay for my own ticket. I gave my mom the money, and I was really excited because my mom said she had the tickets and everything. My mom, my sister, and I all got in the car to go see the show. We arrived at the wrong place and I immediately thought something was wrong. When I asked my mom why we were there, she said that my sister wanted to see O by Cirque du Soleil, so she just bought tickets for that instead. I was so blown away that even though it was my birthday and my money, my sister had the final say over what we ended up doing. I refused to see the show and opted to walk through the casino the entire time instead. That is awful. I am really sorry that happened to you. I'll throw out the disclaimer that the guy wasn't a dong, he was actually a K, but the stunning privilege was both jaw-dropping and hilarious. Hispanic guy in college, came from a pretty wealthy family. He never a job before, which isn't really that crazy for his age and being a student, though I had been working all throughout college. One day he decided to get a job because he was bored and wanted to see what it was like. I forget where he got a job at, but it was a pretty laid-back part-time job pushing paper in an office setting. A few weeks after starting, we're hanging out, and he's talking about work. He reaches in his pocket and says, "Today they gave me this. What am I supposed to do with it?" It was his paycheck. I stared at him for a second and said, "Dude, that's your check." "What do you mean, what do I do with it?" "Deposit it in your bank." he says. I don't know how to do that. My dad just puts money in there. I don't look at it. I just take money out from ATMs or use my card. Not wanting to walk the poor bastard through such an easy process, I just tell him to take it to a grocery store and cash it. What he said next made me nearly fall off the couch in disbelief. He said, "What do you mean cash it? Like, they'll just give me money for this?" Looking at his paycheck must be nice. My employer's 2 sons have everything paid for, so they never have to worry about cost. They both have everything they want and need. One of them likes expensive shiny things and he's always thrown fits until he got what he wanted from what his dad told me. For Christmas, he wanted a $1,200 55 inches Samsung curved TV, even after his dad stated that his budget is $1,000 for each. He threw fits and got mad at his dad, and his dad, being the wimp he is, apologized and ended up buying it for him anyway. The son is 21 years old. WTF does a 21-year-old throwing a hissy fit even look like? A friend of mine is married to a very rich man. Old coal money or something. No one in the family has to work, they all just live off of investments. Anyway, she was crying one day because her mill was threatening to cut her husband's allowance and he might have to get a job. I want to know what these people do all day. I can understand not bothering with a 9 to 5 if you're filthy rich, but there are only so many Lambos to crash and so many expensive substances to absorb in one's lifetime. I was on my high school's newspaper staff and we always did the section on cars in the parking lot, where we highlighted one crappy car and one super nice car and then interviewed both owners. Everyone loved it, and don't worry, the crappy car owners were always super excited to be a part of it and they always had the best stories. So we pick Snibbet Snootisen cause she's got a Nissan's brand new Range Rover or something, and after I'm the last to call, not that I'm forced to interview her. What's your favorite feature of the car? Well, one time I forgot to put it in park and it started rolling away, but it didn't roll that fast, so probably that. Or my G-Easy bumper sticker. Got any funny stories about your car? Yep, when my parents first got me it, I was making faces at my friend and turned left when it wasn't an arrow and totaled it. So they got me the same one again. I managed to sneak into the article. Snootisen has managed to keep her car undamaged since October. It was January. My high school did something similar. I got interviewed for having a nice car. I drove a Saturn Iron, which I was perfectly happy with. My school was kind of poor. Went to school with a girl who got a 2012 BMW and literally cried and cussed out her parents because she didn't get a 2015. When my brother broke off one of the rear view mirrors on my father's nicest car 2 days before getting his license, driving illegally because he couldn't be fricked to bother with the 5-minute walk to the store on a mild sunny day to get a can of soda, and then just put the car in the garage like nothing happened. My parents bought him a brand new motorcycle so that he wouldn't be tempted to borrow the car anymore. I may have seen worse, but this was in my family, so. In college I knew a girl whose daddy was some big shot banker or something. Made enough that the wife didn't have to work and 3 kids could go to expensive schools with little financial aid. This girl didn't have to work during college, had all her supplies and lodging paid for by daddy, and got to fly home every time there was a 3-day weekend. All on her father's dime. I once had to borrow $10 from her to pay for some food when we went out to eat. I promised I would pay her back once I got my check next week. At the time I worked for a cafe, and she seemed cool with it. Turns out she was not cool with it, and promptly bashed me on her blog and to all her other friends, calling me a bad person and a thief, because I borrowed $10, which I paid her back. I brought up the blog posts and she was very embarrassed. Last I heard of her, she's living in a daddy-paid Manhattan apartment working part-time as a receptionist at a yoga studio. She started a new blog about the struggle. When I was 15 I was dating this girl that I met at a coffee shop downtown. Her parents were loaded, like home movie theater, wine cellar, live-in maid loaded. The girl got a brand new Lexus for her 16th birthday. It took her 4 times to pass her driving test. A week later she totals the car, so they buy her another one. Her parents also flew her from California to London to go school clothes shopping. I was on a school bus as a senior. As we stopped at a house, there was a dead dog by the road. The little girl getting off said to her friend who pointed it out, "Oh yeah, we got him this weekend. My dad will just get me another one." so it doesn't matter. That's incredibly disturbing. I'm from a rich area in Dallas, TX, so I've seen some crap. I went back for a visit and my childhood best friend was complaining that her parents were only letting her go to New Zealand instead of Amsterdam again. Her dad is a multi-millionaire and both of her teenage brothers drive Teslas. My male best friend was complaining to me that he didn't get to go to prom in a Hummer limo, only a regular stretch. He looked like he was going to pass out when I told him that I missed prom in high school to work a night shift. Glad I don't know them anymore. Sounds like you're near Highland Park. Dated a girl who was given a brand new car for her 16th. She had it for less than a year before she crashed it. Her parents bought her a used car. She had it for about a year before crashing it. They bought her a third car, used, and then when her brother turned 16 she pitched a fit because he got a new car while she had to drive around her used car. I didn't know her personally, but I'm still friends with a guy who dated one of her friends. I heard this from him. We all went to a private, pretty expensive school in the US. The spoiled rotten girl got a degree in journalism and promptly moved to London to find a job. Her parents rented her an apartment, and I assume paid for her life, for about 2 years before she was forced to move back because she never looked for nor was employed while there. Once back in the States she refused to live in her parents' house, citing she was a grown woman. How could this be expected of her? Her parents bought her an apartment in New York City. Last I heard she still lives in that apartment, without a job, but has moved because it's in crappy Brooklyn, not Manhattan. And my mom won't even buy me a gallon of milk. My mom had cervical cancer a few years ago and had a full hysterectomy. She was out of work for a while and my brother and I had to work more hours and basically help out with the majority of the bills and groceries. My then girlfriend at the time couldn't seem to understand why I wasn't willing to pay hundreds of dollars on a tux and prom stuff. She proceeded to ask me every day if we were going until I finally yelled at her and told her sarcastically that I was sorry my mom had cancer and surgery to remove all of it and that I was sorry I had to help out with paying bills. She finally shut up about it and cried to her friends. Literally cried. At the school she went to but told them I just didn't want to go. She totally left out the cancer part. I only learned that the other week when one of the people she cried to got hired at my job and told me what she did. We later broke up because she cheated on me and she told everyone I hit her. I've never been in a fight in my life and I'm afraid to hit anyone because I'm a B. I guess prom overrules helping my mom who had cancer. I hope your mum has overcome her cancer. Rather have a mum that loves you than to be like that. My friend's dog. He used to barbecue a steak for the dog once or twice a week. Apparently the dog didn't like it pan-fried. You have been visited by the hamster of joy. Comment: I like chicken to live a happy and full of joy like the joy hamster life. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.